after 13 weeks of the regular season. Peter, you have the honors. What would you like to complain about?
I would like to complain about how we take Jerry Jones' words as gospel. You know, we hang on his words. We publish his words. We listen to his words. And the fact is, most of them should just disappear into the ether because they're like, Jason Garrett's going to coach next year in the NFL. What does that mean? Is he going to be a head coach? Is he going to be an assistant coach? Is he going to be the Dallas coach? Is he going to be the Jacksonville coach? Is he going to be a quality control coach? Is he going to coach his kid's high school team? And I'm kidding. I don't think he has a kid's high school team. But, we take his words like they're very meaningful. They are not very meaningful very often.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Well, when you talk publicly twice a week, you're right. There's only so many things you can say meaningful, and I think the big thing he does there
seems like a lot more than twice.
It does seem a lot more than that. You're right. He makes himself available to the people of Texas, and I think that's what he's really trying to do. And I know having played down there, I think there's probably great appreciation from the fan base to feel like they're getting inside knowledge from a guy like that. But you're right. For us guys in the football world, it gets a little old at times.
And he doesn't just speak twice a week. He speaks twice a week on radio.
And then after the game. Right.
He holds a press conference
Right.
with any reporter who happens to be in the vicinity, and they crowd around him, and he'll talk endlessly. Shereen Williams at home games, she is there, and she types that up, and it takes a half hour to read the damn transcript of everything he's had to say. Consider what Troy Aikman said recently on KTCK-AM. And this is a great example. You've got a head coach who comes down and says, we're going to evaluate the kicker. And then the front office says right after that, probably in a press conference right outside the locker room, they aren't evaluating the kicker. All those things have an impact, and it slowly trickles down. And,
right.
and Peter, you may be onto something here, because it isn't just words into the ether. It is something that impacts and undermines the message that Jason Garrett's trying to send. And I think all that talk last week complaining about Jason Garrett was aimed at getting the lawnmowers started so they'd win on Thanksgiving, and it backfired. It blew up, and the team was not as unified as maybe Jones hoped they would be when he decided to push Jason Garrett back against the wall, because he thought, hey, every other time Jason Garrett's back against the wall, it's worked. This time it didn't. So it blows hot and cold. He's good cop and bad cop all in the same guy. It just depends on what day it is or what minute it is. And again, I still love listening to him because he gives us things to talk about, but I don't know how much it helps his team.
Yeah, well, that's where you got to defend. That's where you defend Jason Garrett sometimes. And you go, hey, it's not easy to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's not. That's just the simple fact of the matter because of all the reasons you guys just stated. All right, my grievance is this. It's nothing too serious, all right? But this is driving me crazy. It's been driving me crazy for about 6 or 7 weeks, all right? I am sick of us having to go to commercial break during a football game because a guy is injured on the field, and then we come back after 3 minutes, right? And, it was his hand that was hurt. He hit his hand and it hurt a little bit. But he had to lay on the ground and we had to go to commercial break, and then he's in on the very next play. That is driving me crazy. I want, if we have to go to commercial break and you're out of the game, there should be you can't come back in for 10 more plays. I am so sick of that right now. As players, I consider myself old school to a degree. If you can walk off the field, get the hell off the field, okay? And the games are long enough as is. I don't want to be like, okay, we've gone to a 3-minute commercial break. Hey, the guy that we went to the break for, he moved his arm around and he's good and he's back in again. Next play. And it just drives me crazy. I'm sorry. I don't know what more to say about it.
So between mildly wounded hand and ruptured spleen at the other extreme, where's the line for how big of an injury it needs to be?
I walked off the field a whole bunch that day. That's my point. A whole bunch. It happened in the second series of the game. I kept going, damn, I don't feel right, but I'm going to walk off the field. All right, sorry.
Mike, I've got one more grievance. Can I air it right now, or do you want to air yours?
Let me air mine. Let me air mine.
Go ahead. You air yours.
All right, let me air mine. And I don't think it's ever going to change, but there is something fundamentally unfair about what's going to happen at the end of this season. And Peter, you mentioned it earlier, when the Dallas Cowboys at 8-8 or 9-7 host the San Francisco 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks at 12-4 or 13-3. Now, Seattle can't complain about it because they were the 7-9 team 9 years ago that hosted the 11-5 Saints and won the game in large part because they hosted it. People said after the game, well, it shows the Seahawks were the better team. No, it doesn't, because if they had played the game in New Orleans would have won the game. That's one of those cases where home field advantage determines the outcome of a game. And even more importantly, Peter and Chris, the idea that the Cowboys could have the division locked up by week 16, rest their starters week 17, and then host a team that was in a bloodbath with its NFC West rival and may have nothing left after only 1 week, and the Cowboys starters are rested because they didn't have to play against Washington week 17, giving them even more of an advantage for this unfair, and they're not going to change it. They love the fact that if you win your division, you're in the playoffs and you get a home game. I don't think it's ever going to change. I don't like it because once every 3 or 4 years, something grossly unfair like this happens, and it's going to happen this year.
You know, the NFL always talks about, hey, it's a level playing field. We want to create equal opportunity for everybody. I mean, they do it with the draft. They do it with all kinds of things, the waiver wire. This is patently, pathetically, ridiculously unfair. The San Francisco 49ers, there's a decent chance that they're going 13-3. They'll be the 5 seed, and they're going to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs and play a team that won 8 or 9 games. Hey, listen, this is not even an argument that it's ridiculous. It's not even an argument that it's patently unfair. No one has come up with anything to me to say anything about the fairness of this other than, well, those are the rules. We automatically give division winners a home playoff game. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. You automatically put the extra point, at the 2-yard line forever, and now you moved it back to the 15. So it's actually a play that means something. This is exactly the same thing. There's something wrong with the game. It's the simplest fix in the world. Vote on it, fix it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, again, I don't know. I like the way it is. Maybe I'm one of those guys. I don't want to reseed it. I do think there's,
You're one of those guys.
Yeah, I know I'm one of those guys. I am. I guess I'm a traditionalist that way. And also, again, sometimes I also look at it like, all right, you could have a team that's, let's say, 11-5 or something like that in a given year in a certain division, right, where the division's not very good, and you got a conference, another division champion who's, let's say, 9-7 and 8-8, but there's it was a tough division altogether, and it's not. I don't know if it's always apples to apples, I guess is what I'm saying. You could be playing in a division that's more highly competitive than another division that's not. That doesn't hold true to this year. I mean, to what you guys
it definitely doesn't.
No, it does not.
It definitely doesn't. The NFC West is better across the board than the NFC East.
I'm just trying to give an example of another given year that it could be that way. So that's all I'm saying. But I want to hear your last grievance either way, Peter, because I know you had one more.
All right, here's my last grievance. The Denver Broncos beat the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday, not because at the end of the game they were the better team.
Right.
It's because at the end of the game, they gamed the system. They got a 37-yard pass interference penalty, not because when Drew Lock went out and threw a bomb, with 8 seconds to go or however much time there was, not because when he threw a bomb, he thought he was going to complete it. It's because the Denver Broncos thought there was a 15 or 20% chance that they would get pass interference. And that's exactly what happened. They got a free pass interference call, a borderline pass interference call, although I agreed that it was pass interference. But it should have been a 15-yard penalty, not a 37-yard penalty. And that field goal should have been a 75-yard field goal, not a 53-yard field goal. I hate the spot foul on defensive pass interference. And I will argue to my death that it is the dumbest rule in NFL history.
I could think of dumber rules, but I agree with you, especially, I mean, when you're talking about a 40, the fumble out of the end zone, the other team getting the ball at the 20 is the dumbest rule in football history.
It's not as important as this rule, though. It's not as important. This rule happens all the time.
Both of those rules,
I love them. Happens 5 times a year.
I love both of those rules. Florio, you're wrong. Sorry. When you lose the ball in somebody else's territory, it becomes their ball, just like anything else, all right? And you're wrong too, Peter. I mean,
I'm not.
We'll see penalties all game long. Anytime a guy's beat, they're going to just hold them.
That is a ridiculous statement.
Why?
You played college football at the highest level.
Right, and it killed us all the time. I had Roy Williams, who was a top 10 pick, and when he would beat people.
And how often did people tackle him in the open field? Every week?
No, but I would say a handful of through the year.
Good. And so here's what you do in the NFL.
Right.
Here's exactly what you do in the NFL.
Okay.
You take away the spot foul element. Okay? You make it a 15-yard play. But if there is a blatant tackle of a pass receiver running downfield, that is a spot foul. But I'm telling you, David Shaw, the Stanford coach, told me this a couple of years ago. You hardly ever see it. It hardly ever happens. So let's put in an insurance policy for when it does happen. If Casey Hayward on that play tackled Cortland Sutton, okay, it's a spot foul, 37-yard penalty. He didn't. He bumped into him. And there's a good chance he bumped into him accidentally, not on purpose. So there's no way that should be a 37-yard penalty.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
There's a lot of things there. It was a bad call, first off.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.